Hey YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new video. Tonight we're doing a contest response for Dylan over at Noble Records. He's a new channel here, newish channel here on YouTube. Been going for the past year, I guess, about. And did a 750 subs contest and been getting quite a few hits here on YouTube recently, so probably near double that by this point. But awesome channel. I've actually discovered your channel in the recent weeks, right before you announced this contest. Saw some of your buys and your hauls pop up, like when I first go and log into YouTube for the day. I like to sort of look in that area where gives you the recommended videos, and sometimes I'll pick one or two out of that area just to see if there's a new channel I want to find out about, and found your channel through that. Saw one of your videos. I think it was the I bought a record store video. I think that's one of your more popular ones. Yeah, just killer stories. It's fun hearing your stories behind these big collections and hauls you're purchasing and doing your store and stuff. I think that's really cool. Definitely a really cool dude, and I have been enjoying checking out your videos over these past couple of weeks. Been, you know, as they sort of come around, I'll check out one or two of your older videos every day. Just to see what you've been up to recently, and I've been enjoying seeing the new stuff you've been releasing as well. And I know your contest is going pretty well. I've seen a lot of responses so far to the contest, and I thought it was really cool because it harkens back to the early days of the vinyl community, before it was even called the vinyl community, when we just do threads, and they would be very intricate and lots of questions, and the community was so small here that you could actually watch everybody's videos. So it was pretty cool, and it was a really good time. And yeah, this sort of harkens back to that time, and a lot of storytelling and a lot of personal experiences with vinyl, and I've been really enjoying watching people's responses to this contest, and really enjoying it. So definitely wanted to get my stories in there, get my name in the ring, and kind of share with you and just say what's up. And I guess before we get too much further, I just wanted to remind people that I'm doing an Ask Me Anything video. The deadline for that is November 21st. So if you see this before then and you want to ask me a question, go back a couple of videos on my channel, and I have a video where I'm asking for your questions, and I'm going to do a video over the Thanksgiving weekend here in the US, answering some, if not all, of those questions, depending on how long it takes. But I'm going to try to get through them all. Thank you for those of you who had submitted questions already. It's awesome, some awesome questions. I'm really looking forward to answering some of those as well. So let's go ahead and get into this thread response / contest for Dylan. Sort of he's doing a my vinyl I think it's called my vinyl no, not my vinyl diary, my vinyl biography kind of thing. Okay, so you had 5 questions. Let's go ahead and get into it. The first question is, what was your first memory with vinyl? And I kind of came up with 2 stories I wanted to tell real quick. The first one is back when my stepdad and my mom were first dating. We were sort of just you know, doing things on the weekends as a family kind of does. My stepdad is really into cars, been into cars all his life, sort of instilled that into me, being into cars, and he's done restorations of cars as both a full-time job. He's done it as a side gig kind of thing. He's done it personally for his own personal collection of cars. So, you know, one weekend we found ourselves at a junkyard looking for some parts. This would have been sometime in the late 80s, I guess. We were just wandering around this junkyard, you know, looking at all the cars and stuff, and got into this one part of the junkyard, and I started finding 45s on the ground, just scattered around, you know, all classic rock 45s. And I remember just running around picking them up and getting all these 45s and being like just really excited to find this music, because up until then I kind of only had like a lot of children's records. I had a turntable in my room. I had a lot of children's kind of records, a lot of those storybooks with the, you know, they give you a little chime and you turn the page kind of thing, those little children's stories, and a few little pieces of music here and there that my mom had given me to sort of have around. But this was kind of cool that I was running around finding all these, you know, 45s all over this junkyard, just sort of scattered around, and I was just really happy, and it was just a really fun experience, and a nice memory for me that just find free music just scattered on the ground like it was gold nuggets or dollar bills or something. You know, it was a really cool experience. So that was definitely a fond memory of mine. And then another memory I sort of came up with is sort of my I guess you could call it my jump off days for collecting music. My early sort of things about collecting is we were at a flea market. Again, just out of town on a weekend, just went by a flea market and came by this booth, and they were selling records. And at the time, I really didn't have much in the way of music still. I had those 45s. I had, you know, a few little children's kind of records kind of things, but I didn't have really any albums. And you know, just sort of stumbled on this booth, and I think maybe the albums were $4 for $1 or $5 for $1. They were really cheap, and you know, I was a really young kid at the time. I had a really small allowance, you know, do your chores and get a few dollars a week kind of thing. And so I bought a stack of records from that hall or that stall at the flea market. It wasn't even really a stall. It was kind of an outdoor flea market, and they would just set up they had like a camper, and they'd set up in front of a camper, and we're just selling stuff, and records were one of the things. And I just picked out some records and took them home and just started listening and experiencing this music that it was old music, and was I'll share with you a few of the ones. This was probably one of the best ones I bought that day. Chicago's second album, self-titled. Yeah, I just immediately was blown away when I heard this. Didn't really know what I was getting into. Funny story, I thought these guys were black just based on the way the music sounds. But yeah, I definitely was a cool experience to sort of just blindly pick this up and get it home and really experience it for myself. And another one, I don't know why my mom and my stepdad even let me keep this one, but yeah, that's not something for a kid to listen to. Another one, Kansas 2 for the Show. I picked this up as I was like, oh, Dust in the Wind. I know Dust in the Wind, and I've heard that song before. Picked this up, so that sort of got me into Kansas, got me into some progressive rock kind of things. So yeah, I just had this really fun experience of sort of, wow, I can buy music cheaply, inexpensively, and discover all this new to me music. And so that was a really fun experience for me to sort of find vinyl as a way for me to experience music on my budget, and that's what's been sort of driving me to continue in this hobby. Okay, question number 2: what was the first album you fell in love with? While I technically didn't fall in love with this as a vinyl album, it was actually on a cassette my best friend had, but that would be Run DMC's Raising Hell. There's two different versions of the cover there. Yeah, this sort of, I started hearing, before this I really hadn't heard much hip hop. I'd heard Rapture by Blondie, but beyond that, it just really hadn't made it down to the, I'm in the northern part of Florida here, and it's can be kind of rural, and just hip hop hadn't really made much of a dent in my circle of people and friends. So until this album came out and you started hearing, It's Tricky and You Be Illin' and stuff on the radio, and I was like, wow, this is like so far out. This is like nothing I've ever heard before. Had trouble understanding even what they were saying. Had to listen over and over and over again to really understand all the words. It was kind of cool because there's a couple of curse words in this album. There's only a handful in here, but us as 10-year-old kids, hearing this for the first time, or hearing the curse words on an album, like, whoa, they're saying dirty words on an album. And so that was a fun thing. But yeah, this was the first kind of music that was, I thought, this is something that's my own. It's not inspired by my parents in any way. It's just sort of me and my peers sort of getting into a new form of music, and this album was really the album that sort of kicked off 2 decades of me listening to nothing but hip hop. So yeah, definitely this album was the album I chose as being the first album I ever really fell in love with, because sort of felt first thing that felt like my own thing, and something I could sort of get into. Okay, question number 3 is, what record has the greatest significance? A tough question for me. It's a tough question. I kind of went with this album here. It helped me out a lot. Linkin Park, 1,000 Suns. Was always a Linkin Park fan. When this album came out, this was the Linkin Park album I always wanted. It's very progressive. It's hard to explain. It's different than every other Linkin Park album there is. I wouldn't call it a concept album, but it sort of has a theme to it, and that makes it unlike other Linkin Park albums. It flows very well. It's very emotional. Just a really cool album, and it got me through a really tough time in my life. And so Linkin Park, 1,000 Suns, definitely a prized album in my collection, and something that means a great deal to me. In fact, I have the deluxe box set version of it, which I've shown here before on the channel, but it's been quite a few years. There's a nice booklet in there, and this is white vinyl pressing and a bunch of art prints and all kinds of goodies in here. But that was a nice pickup, even though this was not very expensive to buy, because not a lot of people like this album. But yeah, definitely a very important, a very meaningful album in my life, and it got me through, as I said, a really tough time in my life, and just love hearing it still today. Okay, getting to question number 4. This is sort of I don't want to say controversial one, but one a lot of people have struggled with, and that is, what is the most expensive album, or the album you've spent the most on for your collection? And I'm the type of guy, I don't buy big ticket albums. I either can afford them, there's something I just stumble across. I've stumbled across some amazing albums over the years, and in free bins and thrift stores and in yard sales. And if you got an open mind and you're out there working it, you will find some amazing deals, no matter what it is. If there's something specific you're looking for, you may or may not find it, but there's still some great finds to be had out there. The most expensive new album that I bought was just a single album, was the Tron Legacy soundtrack. At the time when I bought this, it was $50 direct from Disney, which was a lot of money to spend on just basically a single album, even though it's 2 LPs. But yeah, I've seen this for much less since then, so that was probably not a smart thing to buy, to pay $50 for it. But I absolutely love the soundtrack to this movie, and had to have it, so I paid the $50. And then when it comes to, I picked up a couple of used pickups here as well. Here's a cool one. I wonder if you're in the deal, and I wonder if you've ever seen one of these. Wish You Were Here, Still in the Shrink. And this is radio station promo as well, Still in the Shrink. And that was $30, which I think was a very good price for this. My favorite Pink Floyd album, and yeah, to see one of these in the Shrink, as I said, I've never seen one before. I'm kind of curious if you've ever seen one Still in the Shrink, but that is pretty awesome, I think. And I paid $30 for this as well. Jules, Pieces of You, which at the time, I bought this in like 2009, 2010, and I paid $30 for it. So it was definitely a hard to find album, even though you can still buy it for not much more than that. Surprisingly, I would have thought it would have been more valuable now, but it's not. But yeah, Jules' debut album, Pieces of You, from '96, I think this came out. No, 94. I'm saying 96. 94. So those were the most expensive ones. I got some couple of box sets that were around $100, but I can't really count box sets because they're box sets. They're going to be expensive. Question number 5: what is your ultimate grail? This was actually probably the most difficult question for me, because I really don't have grails, and there's albums I'd like to hear. My ultimate grail is to hear as many albums as I can before I die. That's really what I want to do. That's really what this is about. for me. I don't spend a lot of time sort of revisiting albums over and over again. I get to a point where I kind of feel I got a good sense of what the album is about, what I like and dislike about it, and at that point they either stay in the collection here or they go away. And you know, sometimes that only takes one listen, sometimes that takes 3 or 4 listens, but that's kind of how I am with music. Is I would much rather hear something new that I haven't heard before rather than something that's old that I love. I just really want to always be hearing new music. But I do have one thing I sort of chose as just to answer the question directly. This is an album that has never really been correctly released on vinyl, and that is Ice-T's original Gangster, going back to kind of where we started, my first love of music being hip-hop. This album has never actually, it has some vinyl releases. There is an edited version that has most of the tracks. It's missing 1 or 2 tracks. There is an unedited version that's missing a lot of tracks. But there's really never been a real full issue of this album with all the tracks unedited on vinyl. So I would love to see Ice-T's original Gangster on vinyl in its original form, unedited. And then the bonus question was, why vinyl? And again, for me, it's an inexpensive way for me to hear a lot of music that I haven't heard before. I love the physicality of it. I love the large artwork. I love the interaction you have with playing vinyl. I like the process of cleaning vinyl. I like the process of digging for vinyl. I have, you know, 1,600-ish albums in the actual collection here, and then I got about 2,500 that are in what I call my inbox. That I've listened to some of it. A lot of it I haven't listened to. A lot of the stuff I haven't listened to are just when I do a big haul from a garage sale or a book sale or something like that. I get a bunch of records all at once. You know, I might listen to 3 or 4 of them, but the rest of them, they just kind of end up in the inbox, and I'll get to them when I get to them. And I, you know, every so often I'll go through and grab 30 or so albums from the inbox, clean them up, and put them in my on deck area, and that's where I pull from to listen to new records when I'm ready to listen to something new. So yeah, I just love the experience of being able to, no matter how much money I have to spend, I can always buy vinyl. It's got this giant, you know, beautiful giant physical form that just you can see clearly. You get nice big lyrics and posters, and you know, you sort of have that interaction of working with the album. You can't really fall asleep. You can't lose your concentration on it. You got to sort of be involved with the process of listening to music, and that's what vinyl does. So those are my answers to your questions. Congratulations on your awesome channel. I love it. Thank you for all the videos. Thanks for sharing all the finds you've been making, sharing all your knowledge. It's really enjoyable to see your channel. It's really enjoyable that the vinyl community is thriving here on YouTube, as always. So thank you for watching. Have a great day or great night, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.